shot heard round the world. And no, I'm not talking about the Hawaiian volcanoes or Little Rocket Man crossing the DMZ. I'm talking about the announcement from Gretchen Carlson, the head of Miss America, announcing they will no longer judge people based on appearance and abolish the swimsuit competition. Obviously, I'm not allowed to have an opinion on this. Thank goodness for my guest, Maria Montgomery. Now, Maria was Miss Kentucky USA 2009 and was a runner-up at Miss USA, and she went on to be a full-time model at companies like Ford Models in Wilhelmina, LA. Her print works include things like JCPenney, Kohl's, Sears, Nike, Maybelline, Olay, and Victoria's Secret. She is also the live announcer at the UK men's basketball home games, but most impressively, she was featured in the Dustin Tavella music video, Forget About Me. Maria, thanks so much for coming on.
That's right. That was a fun one.
That was the best one. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's fantastic. This controversy is really geared at one specific part, I guess, of the competition. So as someone who has walked the runway in high heels in a swimsuit, what was it like for you? What is it like?
Totally natural. Don't you see everyone at the beach in high heels and they're totally normal? No, it wasn't that bad. You assume that it is going to be bad. And for my instance, I had Donald Trump on the front row. And you're on national television when you're doing it, but I studied it as if it was a sport and I worked hard for it. So not just the physical aspect, but how to walk, how to have the energy, and how to make it fun. It's not just about the physical appearance whatsoever. I've also judged countless pageants. I've judged Miss Tennessee, Miss Georgia, Miss Michigan, and several others. And the prettiest girl just does not always win.
Yeah, I think my next question has to be, do you have a Trump story?
Story, goodness. Yeah, I kind of do. So whenever we met him, you're in like a great big circle, and he came up to each one, but it was with everyone there. So all the stories about him coming in the dressing room and all that stuff is just complete lies. Like, there's no way that's possible because it's such a public event, and the security is so high. But anyways, so he was coming down the line, and I think I was towards the beginning, within the first 10 girls of all the states. And he shook our hand and talked to us or whatnot. And when he shook my hand, I said, "Thank you so much for having us," since he is who was behind the whole thing.
Yeah.
And he said, apparently I was the first one to say thank you. And he kind of took a step back, and he said, "What do you do?" All Trumpster like. Impersonate. And so, of course, we talked for a little bit. But to this day, I think he is what put me in the top 15. But another thing, when he walked in the auditorium to meet us, they have the great big TVs showing the feed. It's kind of because it was a dress rehearsal for the actual pageant. And so when he came in, he could see the back of his head when he walked in. And he said, "Oh, my hair's not that bad, is it?" Because he could see. He kind of, he was funnier than I thought he'd be. But at the same time, he was exactly the way that you see him on TV. So
I do want to go to this quote by Gretchen when she was discussing how they were going to judge this from now on. She said, "We will no longer judge our candidates on their outward physical appearance, but we'll rather judge on what makes you you." And I don't know, how do you judge what makes you you? That's my question.
That's an interesting take on that. I think, and I guess what I hope that they're saying is that they're trying to judge on, is each girl the best version of herself possible? Instead of saying you have to be, 5'10" and over and thin and long. Maybe I'm not sure, but I'm hoping that she means that they're going to be judging each girl individually. But at the same time, that's very difficult because they have comparative judging. At least they have in the past, where you have all the girls stand up together, which makes from the judging panel a lot easier because you can see them side by side.
Yeah, I got to get some pushback on this specifically because I've been judged in my performance my entire life almost with track and field. And like you said, it's not going to be fair if, people that are 5'10" or between, there's a height range that does the best in these competitions. And for me, I would never tell a high jumper, well, you're 6'10", so it's not fair that you jump higher than me. Now you have to compete in the shot put or discus, when everyone can excel in their own gifts, in their own unique bodies and gifts in different areas. There's different sports and competitions for you to excel in instead of knocking people down on various pegs. Do you think that is a possibility?
I do, sadly. Now, I will say, with this being such a public change, I think that they're going to have that in their mind, the judges panel, and that they're going to be told to keep that in mind, maybe not told who to pick, but I could not imagine them picking this year like you said, 5'10", thin, typical beauty queen.
Okay, so there's a few controversies that popped up that give me a little pause when I hear these kind of changes going on. For one, there's been the new inclusive cheerleading policy in some high schools on the East Coast where parents were mad that their children didn't make the cut. And so now they're not allowed to have cheerleading tryouts. And there's also a report in USA Today, a reporter made a post giving his argument for why they should abolish cheerleaders in the NFL, saying that it was somehow, let me see his quote exactly, it was degrading for these women. Now, here's why I have some trepidation towards this, because I feel like the people that are the most vocal pushing for these changes for women are the same people that support things like the slut walk, saying that we should be able to do whatever we want with our bodies, and also sex workers' rights, all these kind of things. But it seems like as soon as it comes up where there's a competition or a thing where these certain people may not be as pretty or as physically gifted or as charismatic and they can't compete, all of a sudden, that's a travesty, that's demeaning, and that's awful. It's almost like women can do what they want to do unless you look better than me and I can't compete in whatever you're doing. Is that a fair assessment?
I definitely think so. I think that there's no level playing field at all whatsoever. I think that if someone feels that they can't stand with the other people, whether it be athletically or on a pageant stage or whatever, they can't compete, then yes, they're going to have those comments come out to try to change it, such as the cheerleaders that no longer have tryouts. The NFL thing I think is crazy because those girls choose to do that as a living, whether they need a job or they're gifted or they just cheered all their life, and that leads to that. They choose to do that. So I don't think that people behind it have a right to say that it's degrading.
Exactly. And I want to move on too, because I don't want to see how this is going to, because this pageant and this event has helped so many women in their careers and their futures and all this kind of stuff. And I'm really curious to see how you think this is going to play out, because this is another quote from Gretchen Carlson. She says that now, in place of the swimsuit competitions, and it also a night or evening gown is not happening apparently, because that's somehow bad. But she said she will highlight her achievements and goals in life and how she will use her talents and passions and ambitions to perform the job of Miss America. So basically be asking like what she'll do if she wins. And how do you think this is going to play out? Because for me, like, the heroes are the people the heroes that I look up to are people that would step forward from the crowd and do these awesome individual things. But I feel like in this competition, it's going to be whoever can say the most progressive and politically correct thing that they're going to do possible. And all it's going to do is try to speak to the masses as clean and as clear as possible. Do you think that's how it's going to pan out? Or is there going to be people that are actually going to break the mold and somehow do well with this question?
No, I don't. I think I can't imagine what those pageants on TV are. They usually last around 2 hours, the telecast at least. Like you said, they're going to feel like they have to say politically correct things. And I'm not saying that swimsuit is the answer to this, if that's the change they want to make, but you can't have this interview, especially if they don't have evening gown. I mean, if they don't have evening gown, there's no show. And I was always told when preparing for Miss USA that it's a TV show first and then a pageant second.
Yeah, I'll get you out on this, Maria. So for you, what would you change to improve these pageants going on now? And if a young girl wants to start into the pageant sphere and all these competitions, what would you say to her?
If I was going to make a change within the Miss America organization, if they felt the need that there was too many of the same body types or too much pressure to be a certain way, a certain body, I would do fitness portions. I would do that in place of swimsuit if they felt the need to make the change. I don't think swimsuit is bad as long as the judging panel is aware that there should be different body types. And so if a little girl was interested in competing for the first time or whatever, I actually deal with this all the time, and I highly encourage it, because the things that I've learned, the life skills that I've learned from pageants, I can't even put words to describe them. So I would still very much encourage it, and I would still encourage them to compete in the Miss America organization, because the scholarships that those girls win is crazy, even if you just place at the state level.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much. Hopefully they'll put you on the board and you can fix everything for us, Maria.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, thanks so much for coming.
Thanks, Ben.
Did you enjoy that video? Of course you enjoyed that video. So now you need to become a premium member to the Rebel. That way you have first access to Pure Hollywood and the entire Rebel lineup.